gladly pay you by the hour for a minute or so, so you can sign off on the towers where they'll piss on your home. And if you feel like you're just powerless to answer them no, it's 'cause you are. They'll gladly pay you by the hour for a minute or so, so you can sign off on the towers where they'll piss on your home. And if you feel like you're just powerless to answer them no, it's 'cause you are. It's 'cause you are. They'll gladly stagnate a living wage, snap the chains and bury it. Labor slaves in rusty cages dragged behind a chariot, led by Mr. Racial Jungle, Joseph or Iscariot, fighting over scraps as they barrage us all with variants and BuzzFeed clickbait, straight until we're paralyzed, trying to distract us from the concentration camps that Joe had swore he'd close but only chose to amplify, where they got 50-something kids in cages made for 5 to occupy. And no, she hasn't seen the camps, but Harris swears they're paradise. She tells us the facilities are safe, and that right down to the women, they are regularly sterilized. Then she throws her head back and she proceeds to laugh, that sort of heartless cackle you'd expect from someone working steadfastly on behalf of the virus and a Congress full of parasites. And where was I? I was busy cashing every blue check, demonstrating plainly all the narratives expected from the verified. I was busy breeding verbal leeches by the terabyte. Train them to exsanguinate the wealthy while they sleep at night. Bleed the oil barons dry and barren, say they showed us how to share and now we share alike. Tell them I contracted rabies from a feral mic. Now I'm just another species losing sleep to noise pollution and these glaring lights, forced to change its habits and adapt to just survive. But now it's safe to say that some of us are thriving in the moment, throwing shit on presidential homes beneath the Paris skies. So if you feel like you're just powerless, I guess you bought the lie. But I can tell they're petrified of our collective might, 'cause I can hear those gentrifiers weeping at the sight of our collective rights. And I only can imagine the intensifying fear of knowing revolution's near, and all that's left to do is simply wallow in the thick anticipation of a rabid bite. And baby, one day you can ask your leaders just what that was like before you grab a slice. So if you think you're powerless, allow me now to change your mind. Honey, if you think you're powerless, allow me now to change your mind. See, they'll pay you hourly, tax them each apart, and build a shining tower out of loopholes and cards, and tell you that you're powerless to keep you in the dark because you aren't, because we aren't. You see, they'll pay you hourly, tax them each apart, and make you build a shining tower out of loopholes and cards, where they'll tell you that you're powerless to keep you in the dark because you aren't, because we aren't. Brand new taxes, starving all the billionaires and neutering their Visa Maxes. Topple Congress off their axis, mobilize the homeless, give them axes, call it praxis. Chop a couple limbs off the legislative branches, we'll show you the difference between air as a human right and guaranteed oxygen access.
Octogenarians who barely know what day it is are culling countless citizens while sitting on a dais made of ignorance that was built on the graves of the slaves made to labor for its self-declared significance. And all to build a Congress full of millionaires who make their fortunes insider trading while they shit on all the indigent. So I got a bone to pick with our leaders, and I'll start with the ligaments. Pick right through the muscle, dig the marrow out, and serve it to the unhoused millions living in their minivans or watching their belongings get evicted from their tenement. I have a dream where we breach the walls of Congress and just let them in. And what happens next will survive in only text, cause there won't be any evidence. There will only be that heavy kind of feeling that pervades a space where there has been a reckoning and you can feel its remnants. Let any man who enters seeking power know that those who came before him suffocated on their eminence. That there once was a seal on the wall, but we quartered it and scattered all the pieces that it might prevent its semblance. And so we end the great experiment. We'll take all your billions, leave you 2 coins for the ferryman. Leave you drifting on a Dutchman floating derelict among the wretched seraphim. For holy is the hand that wiped the land clean of those who pose as gentlemen. That's my time, honey, cue the thunderclap and strike the theremin. And so we end the great experiment.
People still owe money. People still owe money. No. People still owe money. People still owe money.
It looks to me as though you learned to love your prison. I guess you'd say you made it your own. Such a difficult decision. I bet you finally feel like you're home. Home.
Right in the center where the haves meet. You were proud of incremental half speeds. You were getting down in the AOC dance line, hands tied, nodding to the backbeat. You'll Secret Service dive in front of any representative alive, being asked for the very bare minimum. And you'll turn into that same kind of hard right villain you detested should we mention they could ever muster maximum. Cause liberal denial's such a lofty ataraxia, where morals take a back seat, not up in the cab, but in hidden panels made by federal human traffickers. If you trust the autopilot, then you're just a sleeping passenger, passively accepting that it isn't us the bastards serve, making peace with all the evil walking on this rancid earth. With those who bound your hands at birth, glancing up at fascists on a bloody dais thinking they just need a push. Not a holy man, but I'm praying for a burning bush. Yeah, I know you'd love to look away, but love, you need to look. There are many massacres the country manufactured that will never make the books. Now here's your fucking hook.
It looks to me as though you learned to love your prison. I guess you'd say you made it your own. Who knew that freedom's such a difficult decision? I bet you finally feel like you're home. Home.
Who are these people?
Who are these people? Surprise, everyone. I know. I wasn't supposed to be back. until 2 weeks from last Tuesday, and I pulled a switcheroo because, holy crap, there were so many articles that I got yesterday, and I'm like, I have enough to put together a show. Like, I didn't know what I was going to do because, again, I'm scheduled to not do it Tuesday because I'm going to be out of town. So, like, well, I have enough to do a show now. And so originally tonight, this spot was supposed to be, by the way, this is Indie News Now Live. I'm Indy, and this is a bonus show. And I was supposed to be doing a show with Himbo tonight for Nobody Wants to Work Anymore. He got bogged down last minute having to get something else done. And so I'm like, I have enough to do a show, so I might as well just throw it together. This way I'll have clips next week to put out throughout the week on Indie News, on IndieMediaToday.com, my daily Substack. So each morning, 8:30 a.m. Eastern, a clip, a segment from the live stream gets emailed out. So, next week there was going to be none because I wasn't streaming on Tuesday. Although Tuesday night there will be a live stream. And I forgot, I didn't mention this till the end of the show last week, but Tuesday night I've stitched together the two halves of the Whitney Webb article talking about Les Wexner, Jeffrey Epstein, and New Albany, Ohio, and how they've turned that into a corporate state or a corporate city where Wexner basically has control, similar to like a Brad Wesley or a Boss Hogg. He appoints, he has say in who the mayors are and who everybody is, and nothing gets moved without his say so. So that's going to be about a 2-hour and 40-minute stream next Tuesday night, the 12th, starting at 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific. And I'll probably jump in chat, but I'm going to be out of town at a hotel. And yeah, I don't know what he had to take care of. Himbo had to take care of something, family. I don't know. Hey, that's between that. My name's Paul. That's between y'all. That's all I know. I'm glad that our just in time John over on BitChute. We are live on BitChute, and I'm so glad to see somebody chatting over there. Good shit. Yeah, so tonight, like I said, I found a bunch of stories since Tuesday night while just sitting around on Wednesday curating all the clips for the show and making shorts and everything else. I see this article first from Declassified UK about Palestine Action's lawyer getting persecuted. Basically, they're trying to frighten and intimidate other lawyers into not defending activists, and we're going to talk about that. I also wanted to talk about this thing that Ford Fisher, Indie Media Award honoree, okay, he's a great field journalist. He just points a camera and shoots, and you don't know what his politics are because he shot stuff from all different political ends of the spectrum. But he covered a story about a guy that scaled the Frederick Douglass Bridge and camped out there for 5 days to protest war. A peaceful anti-war protest that nobody was really talking about. So we're going to talk about that. Also, I wanted to talk a little bit more about, we have an update on what happened with the flotilla, the two guys that are being held right now captive in Israel. They were kidnapped off their boat and brought to Israel to stand some kind of a show trial and they keep extending. And that's what we're going to report on tonight. Also, Mahmoud Khalil. It's been more than a year since he was abducted from his home, put into an ICE facility, and what a mess around him. Okay, his persecution by the Trump administration, tied with the Israeli, the JDL or whoever the lobby is, the Canary mission that pointed him out, and ICE, of course, holding him, and all the judges and everybody that's been involved in keeping him, and trying to deport him still. So he wrote a piece in the Intelligencer, which is a Vox piece, a Vox publication. It's paywalled, but someone was kind enough to grab it and post it on Facebook, so I'm going to grab that. Then I made an Audible at the last minute. Like literally in the last 45 minutes, I added to the lineup with a few things. One is a trio of articles or trio stories from Popular Information. They've been doing some real good investigative journalism. You know, when a Democrat's in office, you could count on them to look the other way and try to find Republican corruption, even though there's plenty of Democratic corruption in power. But when a Republican is in office, man, do they shine. And they've got a couple articles about some of the corruption going on in this administration, the cost of the Iran war. Holy crap. So we'll talk about that. And then I've got a real lightning round, which is going to be slightly extended. Private equity taking over nursing homes, an indictment for the Cop City activists 4 years later. Nobody's talking about that. Aaron Brockovich put out a really important article that I'm going to cover a part of because I think it's important everyone hear about it. ProPublica came out with a new website. And, of course, Corbett Report published an article I think a lot of people missed last month about 1971 and the removal of the gold standard, which is a pretty important piece also. So I've got a lot, plus the GoFundMes. So that's a lot to get to. And so buckle up for the next couple hours. We're going to be here before we get going. Support independent media. Everyone in chat there already has. I love you all, every single one of you. From Lady Alex M, I see you out there, to Kieran Pine, I see you, and Sean the Accord Lord, and the handsome cynic Angel, who contributes 2 shows a week to this network, INN. Everybody who, Old Man Barker as well, OMB, has definitely hooked this network up. Appreciate everybody. They're all up on that board. The ways to do that: Cash App, $ Indie News Network, ko-fi, ko-fi.com/Indie News Network. We'll actually pop something up on screen. PayPal.me/Indie News Network. Do it as friends and family. There's no fees. Monthly goes to patreon.com/Indie News Network. We're live over at IndieMediaToday.com. That's my Substack. And then INN Newsletter is the weekly newsletter for the network. Subscribe there, too. There's 5 podcasts that are not available at IndieMediaToday.com. So there's definitely reason to subscribe over there. And then finally, of course, the name of the site, Indie News Now. The name of the show is IndieNewsNow.com. You know, Indie News Now Live. The site's IndieNewsNow.com. We're live there. There's merch there. And there's 24/7 aggregated independent news from across independent media. So let's get to it. All right. But yeah, I'm glad to see everyone again. I was so fired up that I'm like, I got enough to do another show right now. So fuck it, let's do it. Nobody's stopping me. Okay. Ford Fisher and this story about Guido Reichstadler, anti-war, anti-AI protester. We like that too. Guido scaled an arch of the Frederick Douglass Memorial Bridge this afternoon. This was, again, last Friday, May 1st. Ford Fisher, Indie Media Award honoree, all right, capturing this in the field. And says police officers and fire department attempted to talk him down as he climbed the slippery platform, abandoning his shoes and socks along the way. Now, he ended up staying up there for 5 days. And he ran out of, you'll see. But news to share, again, is Ford's outlet, also Indie Media Award honoree from 2023. All right, let's watch this report. This is him starting the scale. Oh boy. Oh boy. He's starting to slide. No commentary. How do you sit there and shut up and just record? God, Ford, so good. I hope nobody's got vertigo. I kind of do a little bit, but I'll deal with it for this. This is wild. He takes off his socks and shoes. As if that's gonna help not having traction? There it goes. He's got no shoe. My shoe. He's taking them off, like, deliberately. Now, he's got a backpack with a tent. Dude, I'm getting that fucking weird feeling in my legs and just watching that thing go. Thanks, Ford. So here he goes, scaling it.
I need you to come down off the bridge.
Crazy. He made it to the top. Bless him. But there's no handrails. A bridge too far. Very funny. Very, very clever. Sweating palms, shaky legs, and all. Seriously, bro. Fearless. Well, I got more. So he's up there on the bridge. Everyone's figuring out, what do we do? Okay, so that was three minutes and change. Okay. Ford continues. As I got Guido on the phone from the top of the bridge, Capitol Police approached and began speaking to him. One officer took my phone to speak with Guido. Ultimately, with Guido's permission, I gave the police his number so they could speak without my phone. 4.5 minutes of this.
Are you still on the line with them now?
I can talk to him if you want to put him on.
Hey man, this is Technician Griebig with Capitol Police. How are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing all right.
Good.
Hey, I'm doing all right.
All things considered, you're right. So I'm last time on the bridge.
Yeah, I'm the same guy.
Same guy. Okay. And when was it? 4 years ago?
Correct.
Okay. And what was it? What were you protesting 4 years ago?
You can read the news.
What? Okay. What are you protesting
it was,
this?
It was abortion.
It was abortion.
It was the overturning of Roe versus
Okay. Okay. I got you. So what about this year? What about right now?
Right now, it is the illegal attack on Iran and the ongoing war.
Okay.
And the fact that we're in an AI crisis.
AI crisis. Can you explain more of the AI crisis thing?
Yeah, absolutely. Have you been paying attention to what's going on with AI?
Well, honestly, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I kind of stay away from it. I don't understand it, and I'd like you to tell me more because
that's why it's important to do things like this.
Okay, so can you tell me more?
Yeah, no, like really briefly, frontier AI companies are barreling ahead towards, their stated goal of building machine superintelligence AI systems that are smarter than human beings. And, leading scientists, researchers, founders of the field say, and even the heads of the companies and the engineers say that this poses a risk of existential harm to humanity.
I'm going to record my...
We don't know how close we are to that. So, could not be more dire.
Right. Okay, so what are some, I guess, solutions to this then? Because I have no idea.
like an international treaty that they as part of their human AI. And that's what we do is make it illegal. That kind of research.
I'm sorry, it's a little windy.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's probably a lot
We
windy.
need to shut it down. We need to, pressure the government through nonviolent action to shut it down and nonviolently stop the companies that are doing it as well.
Okay.
Doing that kind of research.
Okay.
All nonviolent. I'm totally nonviolent, and only endorse nonviolence.
Can you separate him a little bit from us, please?
With all due respect, you have my phone in your hand.
Sorry, it's your buddy.
Can
you tell your buddy to either give us your number or just tell your friend here, just give us some space?
He has my phone in his hand.
Yeah, he's right here.
So
Come over here with me. Just let him talk. It's okay. He's not going to take your phone. I promise you'll get it back, okay? Just hang with me right here.
yeah, can you give us your number, please?
Your guy? Is that him?
He's not my guy. I am Andrew
So they're just getting the phone number now. Clearly.
What'd you say?
Mr.
Fisher,
hey, he's asking you to give.
Okay, so if Mr. Fisher could give us your phone number.
If I hear him say that,
That's what I'm saying. So here, that's
all right. Can you tell Mr. Fisher?
You're full.
Or if you. Yeah, sure.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Fisher.
Yeah, he's right here.
So I will pull it up and give it to you. Yes.
Okay. All right. We will call you back then.
You can call him and step away from me if you want.
Catch you later.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Catch you
The
later.
thing is, like, the more you record, especially what we're doing, your camera could be part of the investigation. I know.
I'm sorry to laugh because this is a serious thing. Natalie, how are you? I'm so glad you got your phone back.
So you're free
She's
to
back
stand,
from
off to the
the
side,
Lost.
but recording what we're doing, all it, like I said, our procedures and stuff. That
Yeah,
can lead
I mean, I'm
to-
not trying to.
No, I'm
hear
not
what
saying
you're
you are.
saying
No,
when you're
no.
not talking.
Again,
to
I'm
me.
not.
But when
I'm
people come over and talk to me, I'm going to record.
Right. No, I'm not implying that you are, but
yeah.
I'm just letting you know that could potentially, lead to us having to get your camera and all. And I know that's not what you want. You've been cool with us. I'm not trying to give you a hard time at all. So, like I said, if you want to hang out over this way, whatever. But recording the stuff that we're doing.
Yeah, I'm certainly not going to.
No, you're
try
good
to
to
go.
go. I appreciate it, man. Thank you for all your help.
Thank you.
Yeah, they're already trying to intimidate him to stay away and not listen to what they have to say. So what Ford says is after the cops finish speaking to him, I got Guido back on the phone from the top of the bridge in the process of setting up his tent. I'm planning to be up here a few days at least. Said he wants to end the war in Iran, remove Trump, the Trump regime from power, and to compel an end to the extinction from AI. Okay. So then about 7 hours into his protest, Ford calls him back and speaks to him by phone from an adjacent rooftop. All right. So at the same eye level, he says he's doing fine despite some difficulties with his tent, but the wind isn't that strong. So he thinks it'll be fine to keep him warm, even without shoes and socks. More people can witness this action. That's wonderful, he said, as I pointed out that the bridge has been opened again to vehicular traffic. So now, they literally without a net, okay, good on you. All right, now, as the sun sets on D.C., Guido remains at the top of the Frederick Douglass Memorial Bridge protesting AI development and the war in Iran. All right, here's his full 4K documentary footage, right? So far, as always, all footage is available to license. I'm giving him full credit. I'll tell you, go subscribe, go support, go do whatever it is. And if Ford wants me to pay him for the footage, we can work that out. He's always been really cool with us. Because I'm not trying to take this for my own purposes at all or profit from it. Ford, moments ago, as the nearby Washington Nationals baseball game concludes, fireworks are shot from a barge nearby Guido's spot on the top of the bridge. Police presence remained in the area as his protest continued into the night. I survived! Right? I'm going to be here all night. He says he's done a number of interviews from the Arch, and that's why I'm here to spread the words. And I know that he also spoke to corporate media, some of the people from the DC area on corporate media. So that was just day one of this protest. And part of me wants to play all these videos. They're not all that long. Part of me wants to make you go listen to them because you know, go give Ford some views. You know, 18,000 views on this incredible nonviolent protest is shameful, honestly. Like, there should be a lot more than even 700,000 views. There should be millions of views on this. I don't know why there aren't. But the next day, or 2 days later, day 3, so day 2, right? Here's his sunrise post. Now, day 3, he's still up there. Hands off Iran, hands off Lebanon, free Palestine. Fucking love this guy. All right? And I'm sure that he's far from a perfect dude, but he's pissed. He sees what's happening, and he's going to do what is in his power to bring attention to it. All right, there's the beginning of the thread again. So just a couple of photos from the ensuing days. Then last night, all right, he came down. Breaking. Anti-war, anti-AI protester Guido has come down from the Frederick Douglass Memorial Bridge, where he'd been since Friday. All right, this was on Wednesday. DC police and firefighters coordinated to let him down through a hatch at the top, exiting from the bottom of the arch. So he didn't have to slide down. He didn't have to do like the jump into the big bouncing net thing. So let's see what Ford's report here is. Again, it's 3 minutes of video. Let's open this up. Dude's been up there 5 days. So there's a little hatch there that he's able to kind of climb into. And then walk down. I don't know if there's stairs or escalator. I'm guessing there's steps. A lot of steps. Right? And now they're just kind of waiting for him to come out. And then I'm sure he'll have the footage of them getting him out. As he comes down, there he comes. I see feet. It's like delivering a baby. Only it's a full-grown man. Wait, that's another cop. Where's this cat? Oh, he's already there. Okay, they got him. But he's standing right there. And of course, he's under arrest. See, he's already handcuffed because he's really going to go anywhere. DC's finest. Actually, this is Capitol Police, funny enough. But I guess that's who has jurisdiction over Washington. All right, so then he gets his bucket loader trip back down to the ground. And his little stunt cost how much? And of course, all the right wingers, he's a bird that's right to fear. All right, so here's what ends up happening. All right, this happened earlier today. Again, this is breaking news. All right, earlier today. Guido Reichstadler, having come down from the Frederick Douglass Memorial Bridge yesterday, is charged with 3 misdemeanor counts: unlawful entry, disobeying a police order, and blocking or incommoding. All right, that's stopping the flow of traffic, I'm guessing. Like, there's not a whole lot that they're really charging him with. These are the same 3 charges that he faced when he climbed the bridge in 2022. All right. In that case, he pled guilty to 1 misdemeanor and was sentenced to 90 days in jail, all suspended, 18 months of probation, and a $50 fine. Well, he's beyond all of that now, so who knows? But this is now a multiple-time offense doing the same thing. A judge may or may not look harshly upon that. And literally, guess who interviewed him when he came down off the bridge 4 years ago? Ford Fisher, news to share, because he always seems to be there. That's what any media award honorees do. So shout out to Ford. This was interesting. I did not really see, because I don't live in the DC area, I didn't see anybody else cover this. It's probably just because I follow Ford because of his support and his coverage of the Assange protests and rallies. So, yeah, I mean, we need more peaceful, nonviolent protesters out there staging, nonviolent acts of protest on behalf of the public to try to raise awareness. Now, again, it pissed off a lot of right-wingers. That's always a good thing to me. If you're pissing off those guys, you're doing a good thing. It cost of what it cost. Look, what does it cost? I'm going to go into what Iran already cost. So whatever they're going to complain it's going to cost to have him taken down off this bridge or supported or whatever, I don't care. Fuck that. All right. But yeah, Ford Fisher, news to share. Actually, let me go here. Indie Media Awards. Let me go to mediaawards.substack.com/p/Ford-Fisher. There he is. All his links are right here at the Indie Media Awards and a Zago illustration. Newstoshare.org is his outlet. You can follow him, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. I follow him everywhere. Newstoshare.org as well. All right, IndieMediaAwards.substack.com. You can get all those links free anytime. All right. Well, that was a fun one. I'm always proud to support a nonviolent protest against war that actually has some impact and gets some attention. In the right way, I think. Anyway, support independent media. Oh, look at that. That wasn't the one I wanted to show. This is the one I wanted to show. Basically the same slide. Ways to do that. Cash App, $ Indie News Network, ko-fi.com/Indie News Network, at paypal.me/Indie News Network, monthly for patreon.com/Indie News Network, over at Substack at indiemediatoday.com. We're live over there right now. Hello to everybody over watching. You know what? I don't think I even have the chat up from there. That's why I don't see chat coming from Indie Media Today. Hey, let's fix that. We got to go over there. Also, INNnewsletter.com. That's the other newsletter that I publish every week on behalf of INN. And then we also have IndieNewsNow.com. It's the name of the show, Indie News Now Live. It's the name of the website that we've built and support and host. And it's got independent news 24/7 on top of merch and live streaming, more about the network. And you can support with a tip to our Keep the Media Free section over there. All right. So that's section one. Now, I have an interesting article. It's long. I don't know how much of it I'm going to actually read through tonight. And then we'll skim through the rest of it, and I'll link it afterwards. But this caught my attention, and I started actually going through it with Reef, and the more he started reading sections of it, and I was literally identifying people that might have fit these profiles that have come across our, that we've come across in the last 5 years of independent media. And it's a really important piece about keeping our heads on a swivel. You know what? Before we do that, there's one thing I want to fix. I noticed that my bookmark bar is showing, and it shouldn't be, which will show even more of the screen. Even better. Now, this is a Substack that I don't normally subscribe to, but somebody that I follow shared this post, and I popped in because the title was intriguing to me. This is Black Belt Babes Substack, and it's small. Just over 1,000 subscribers. Not a big publication. Are you hunching an FBI informant? You now have my attention. The person you're hunching could be an FBI informant. how the FBI uses sex, romance, and social media to disrupt people's movements, and how NSPM 7 is going to make things a whole lot worse. You now definitely have my attention. So this person, this black belt babe, who is only on TikTok and on Substack, by the way, the person you're hunching, meaning that you're kind of speculating with and collaborating with, I believe is what hunching is, but we'll find out, could be an FBI informant. Okay, let's get into it. The U.S. government has a proven, decades-long playbook for dismantling social movements from the inside, and at its core is the exploitation of people's most intimate human connections, love, trust, and community. A newly enacted NSPM 7 shows that this playbook is not only back, but expanding in ways that should terrify anyone who believes in the right to rebel, which we all do. So part 1 is about romantic relationships and infiltration, a license to manipulate. The tactic of using sexual and romantic relationships to infiltrate and destroy activist groups is not a conspiracy theory. It is a well-documented federal policy. The case files are damning. In the prosecution of environmental activist Eric McDavid, an FBI informant known as Anna spent 18 months monitoring him, sexually manipulating him, wearing a wire in private, and adopting an asexual persona to fuel his infatuation. Because they found out that's what he was into. McDavid described her as his soul twin, but his lawyer called her a provocateur whose task was to make young people on the left fall in love with her. When Anna told her FBI handlers about McDavid's growing feelings, they didn't pull her out. Instead, they gave her a psychological manual and told her to hold out as long as she could. For this, she was paid over $65,000. That's Anna and Eric McDavid. The pattern is identical with Khalil Abu Rayyan, a 21-year-old Michigan man who was suicidal over a breakup with one FBI honeypot, only for the FBI to send another woman to entrap him. In a recorded call where Rayyan said he bought a rope to off himself, the FBI informant asked, "Which thought is greater to you right now, hurting yourself or somebody else?" Wow. His lawyers say the government blatantly steered him toward terrorism as an acceptable form of unaliving himself. And that's him. At Standing Rock, FBI informant Heath Harmon entered a romantic relationship with water protector Red Fawn Fallis. Heath Harmon had close familial ties with community leaders and even participated in important ceremonies. Red Fawn Fallis was sentenced to nearly 5 years in prison after a gun that belonged to the FBI informant Heath Harmon went off when the police tackled her. To this day, the weaponization of intimacy is enabled by the lack of policies by the FBI and the local police forces that coordinate with them. In Jacksonville, the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office coordinates regularly with the FBI on different field operations using paid informants and undercover officers. Their own policy gives carte blanche to engage in sexual relationships with people that are subject to investigations. The policy verbatim says, quote, "Unless in the performance of official duties, members shall not participate or engage in any sexual activity while on duty, including the exchange of messages or media of a sexual nature." Unless in the performance of official duties, meaning that that's allowing that there's policy allowing for this. JSO Code of Conduct, and that's the screenshot from the Sheriff's Office website. This human intelligence machine is fueled by a massive and often secretive budget. The data we do have shows that federal agencies paid out at least $548 million to informants in recent years. A few informants became millionaires, with audits showing the FBI alone paid $294 million between 2012 and 2018. That's under both an Obama and a Trump presidency. And these informants aren't just gathering information. In just a 4-year period, federal handlers authorized informants to commit over 22,800 crimes. Isn't that entrapment? The campaign to disrupt and disturb movements has gone digital too. In Chicago, a SOMEX, or social media exploitation team, overseen by the FBI, created fake online identities in violation of platform policies, rented targets, and were even permitted to take full control of informants' real social media accounts so they could pose as them online. The FBI recently signed a $27.6 million contract for social media surveillance software, aiming to create low footprint and anonymous accounts to monitor and map networks in real time, because they have no idea what the fuck is really going on. They're blind. Now we get into our history, part 2, COINTELPRO, which is the original blueprint for disruption. This is not a new frontier of policing or disrupting either. These tactics are a direct descendant of COINTELPRO, which is the FBI's counterintelligence program, formerly active from 1956 to 1971. The stated objective of COINTELPRO was to, quote, expose, disrupt, misdirect, discredit, or otherwise neutralize, unquote, groups and individuals deemed threats to the status quo of capitalism and white supremacy in America. Sounds like it never stopped. Targets included the Black Panther Party, the Communist Party, Martin Luther King Jr., the American Indian Movement, and later the New Left anti-war movement. The tactics that they utilized included psychological destruction. Keith McHenry can speak to that, right? So here's these declassified documents, and you can link to them there at Senate Intelligence Committee. Okay, reveal the FBI's toolkit. 1, destroying marriages, anonymous letters sent to the spouses of targets to ruin their relationships. Lying, but effective. Economic warfare, meaning that agents would anonymously attack targets to get them fired from their jobs. We see all this doxing and all this happening right now, Canary Mission, and it happening with anti-Zionist protesters and pro-Palestine protesters. Of course, inciting violence. The FBI deliberately aggravated conflicts between groups like the Black Panthers and rival organizations. And then you've got moral assassination. We see that all the time. Agents instructed to gather information on the immorality and scurrilous and depraved habits and living conditions of the new left leaders to embarrass and discredit them. They're talking about like Abby Hoffman and the hippie movement. All the information they gathered was false, but they didn't care. The disruptions served their purpose to discredit, disrupt, and derail. Now we get to part 3, which is this new directive from the Trump administration, NSPM7, which is effectively COINTELPRO on steroids. Do you see why I thought this was a really important article to bring tonight? COINTELPRO was the blueprint for how the federal government would disrupt movements, as we said before. And it's been officially reworked into the federal government's architecture through a new directive under the Trump administration, the National Security Presidential Memorandum 7. And we've talked about this before. Okay, because of the 16 down in Prairie Land that have been convicted of terrorism, one of them for literally transporting anti-capitalist magazines across the state or across the city. Right? So NSPM 7 was signed by Donald Trump on September 25th of last year, which officially codifies the attacks on people's movements. NSPM 7 pushes a narrative that acts of political violence are not isolated, but the result of, quote, sophisticated organized campaigns, unquote, designed to, quote, silence opposing speech, okay, and prevent the functioning of a democratic society, unquote, also. So, who does NSPM 7 target, as we mentioned before? NSPM 7 uses the umbrella term anti-fascism. Well, wait, if you're anti-fascism, would that mean that you're pro-fascist? I guess so. To label a wide array of political views as indicators of domestic terrorism. And I called this years ago that we were all going to at some point be deemed and labeled terrorists. That's the justification for stripping us of our rights. The memorandum lists the signature motivations to be investigated as, quote, number one, anti-Americanism. Whatever that is. Saying fuck this country? Oh, I guess I'm now under investigation. Anti-capitalism, anti-Christianity, I'm anti-religion. Support for the overthrow of the U.S. government. Extremism on migration, race, and gender. What is extremism? I'm not for open borders, but I'm not for what they're doing now. And hostility toward traditional views on family, religion, and morality, whatever that means and whatever they want to define it as. A follow-up memo from fired former Attorney General Pam Bondi came out December 4th, discussing how NSPM 7 should be implemented at the local level. The feds directed federal prosecutors to vigorously pursue these cases and leverage RICO statutes, typically used against the mafia, against various organizing networks, all right? And they called Antifa an organization, which is hilarious. Homeland Security advisor and known fascist and admitted fascist Stephen Miller declared it, quote, the first time in American history that there's an all-of-government effort to dismantle left-wing terrorism, unquote, because there is none. The parallels to COINTELPRO are not an accident either. The NSPM 7 Bondi framework is a formalized resurrection of the New Left COINTELPRO of 1968. It establishes a national priority to disrupt networks before a crime is committed, just as COINTELPRO sought to neutralize a messiah before they could unify a movement. Oftentimes, when people hear the word messiah, they think this always has to mean an important figure like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. or Fred Hampton, but it also includes liberation or communist groups that seek to unify the movement around a common goal, the overthrow of the current order. I can name a couple of organizations that fit that bill right now. I'm not going to. For example, in declassified documents, the aim of COINTELPRO was also to prevent groups and leaders from gaining respectability by discrediting them to the responsible black community, the responsible white community, liberals. Now, NSPM 7 orders federal law enforcement to map the full network of culpable actors, okay, which mirrors COINTELPRO tactic of using informants to identify the local structure and relationships of a group right down to who they're sleeping with. It directs the IRS to investigate tax-exempt status and the Treasury to hunt what they call illicit funding streams, which is the modern version of leaking IRS tax returns to cripple leaders' finances. Straight out of the COINTELPRO playbook. For NSPM 7, the Central Coordinating Force is a now rebranded Threat Screening Center run by Kash Patel, believe it or not. This is a secretive FBI hub in Virginia with a classified budget and a rapidly expanding watch list, probably including us. What's up, Gene? Under NSPM 7, this center is making up criteria to organize a new category of threats. There's that building from Ken Klippendouche, who we believe to be a Fed himself, but that's a whole other story. The outcome is predictable, and we've seen this before. The program's architects understand that a centralized, public-facing movement with a clear leader can be beheaded and disrupted. By unleashing this surveillance apparatus, NSPM 7 encourages a chaotic, paranoid environment where the very act of organizing is criminalized and the social bonds that make movements strong, like trust, love, and shared belief, are systematically turned into vulnerabilities. They're turning us against each other. That's their goal. So how do we spot a rat? And man, have we seen enough of these. And this is what I was talking about when I was going through these with Reef. Reef starts reading these off, and I'm like, oh, that's blah, blah, blah. That's so-and-so. Oh, we definitely saw that. I remember that happening. The goal of these programs is to stop us from organizing, plain and simple. And we must defend our movements. Based on the patterns these programs leave, here's what you should watch for and what to do. There are multiple types of informants. For these purposes, we'll discuss the characteristics of 5 types of informants. And Reef rattled off at least 3 other ones while we were talking. But these are the main ones, and I could definitely name several of each that we have encountered in the last 5+ years. Number 1 is the provocateur push. Someone who constantly pushes for more militant, illegal, or over-the-top actions that the rest of the group is not comfortable with. They may have a rehearsed militant revolutionary persona, but scatter like roaches when the light comes on during a real moment, often suddenly disappearing right as the action is taking place. The one that I'm thinking of is for the guy from January 6th. What's his name? Ray, whatever his name is. But that's not even who I'm talking about, because we're talking about infiltrating left movements, although they do it to the right as well. The divide and conquer artist. They initiate personal conflicts, create factions, spread malicious gossip, and frame personal vendettas as principled political disagreements. I've seen that too. Yeah, not naming names, but I've certainly seen that. Had that used against me in a couple of threads. Block those people. Then we've got the boundary violator. They use their charisma and power to form romantic or sexual relationships with weak links in the group. Sometimes these relationships last months. Sometimes, like in cases in the UK, relationships last for years. At the end of it, these feds destabilize movements and leave trauma in their wake, as is their intent. Often, the boundary violator is one of 2 different types. 1, the caper, the person who saves the weak link from trauma and operates as the person who guides them through their emotional turmoil. But instead of guiding them through emotional turmoil, they guide them into erratic and dangerous behaviors with the goal of destabilizing and isolating them. 2, the person that always has an issue. The person who is an emotional wreck, whose neediness consumes group energy and disarms valid critique. We call that person the energy vampire. Okay? But I saw this specifically used on people very close to me. A honeypot type of operation to emotionally manipulate someone who could be easily emotionally manipulated. Okay, then we have the unexplained expert and helper. They show up with resources like money, experience, equipment, place to stay. Many times they show up at just the right time to offer help that lacks a logical source. Their past and background are often a fog. They typically move from a random city. They have parents that conveniently live overseas with no digital footprints. How funny. They have little to no digital footprint themselves, besides the few months prior to infiltration. These rats will go on social media to add or friend everyone related to the group they aim to infiltrate. When questioned about these things, they'll likely tell you a sob story to play on your emotions to prevent you from asking logical questions. Right? I think we've seen some of those people as well throughout our movements. And then we've got the process wrecker. All right. Now, this is straight out of the COINTELPRO book, where they constantly are derailing meetings, breaking group agreements, avoiding accountability, and acting autonomously while demanding collective action simultaneously. Crazy. And yes, Mary, similar to Mossad in Iran, which The Dissident, one of our co-founders, published a report from Haaretz this week that even the Mossad admitted that they were destabilizing Iran. Right? R.I.P. to Dwayne as well. That's right. Yeah, we miss our friends. All right, so we've got the choice before us, and this is where it wraps up. I thought this was an excellent article. When Trump's Homeland Security advisor says the quiet part out loud, that this is a program to dismantle so-called left-wing terrorism, we must take him at his word. If it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. The renamed Threat Screening Center, the FBI's fake Facebook profiles, and the paid infiltrators seducing their way into people's lives are not separate things. They're all tentacles of a single apparatus designed to disrupt and dismantle movements that go against the status quo of capitalism and white supremacy. They've shown us their hand, and how we respond will determine the future of our movements. Take care of yourselves and each other too. So, then we've got all of the citations and all the things that were cited. And again, not crazy about some of the citations. I saw The Intercept in there. I saw Grist in there. I saw Ken Klippendouche in there. Not UC Berkeley. But again, that's where the intel people are. So keep your eyes open. Keep your heads on a swivel, fam. That's all I can say. I thought this was an excellent article about what to look for. So hunching, someone that you're collaborating with, someone that you're sharing your thoughts with, somebody that you're trying to work it out with, and someone that you think is on your side, but might be a snake that somebody let in the house. And we don't know who that is, and that's what's going to make us paranoid. That's the sad part, is that something like that's what it takes. But too many people have seen too many movements infiltrated and taken down by people that claim to be, Seven Sign also says People's Party, and I totally agree there too. That had infiltration, and that had, a whole bunch of infighting, and that was trying to become a decentralized third party. Yeah, that certainly, we saw a bunch of infiltration there. There was even a honeypot operation, we believe, where somebody was sent in to have a relationship with one of the founders. But that's speculation. I have no fact to prove this, but my eyes and ears tell me what I know. So that was an anonymous article by, again, Black Belt Babe on Substack. I will link that in the description afterwards. We support independent media here like that. Support independent media, please, like us. Cash App, $ Indie News Network is the best way to do that. Or ko-fi.com/Indie News Network, and you can put in a credit card and it'll pop up a thing on screen. We'll say, hey, thanks for that. PayPal.me/Indie News Network. Do it as friends and family, and there's no fee. You want to do it monthly, you can do patreon.com/Indie News Network. Some people do Patreon. If you're on Substack, you can subscribe for free at IndieMediaToday.com. Also at INNNewsletter.com. We're a member of the Indie News Network. I'm a co-founder. And there's 2 separate newsletters that you can subscribe to. We're live right now at IndieMediaToday.com. But also the INN newsletter has 5 other podcasts that we go live on, including Boat Smashing into Other Boats every Sunday night. And INN News every Wednesday. So also IndieNewsNow.com. IndieNewsNow.com is the website that we put together to aggregate independent news. You can also tip our network directly through a Stripe link. You can watch us live, self-hosted, without any other platform. And you can pick up merch through our merch link at our Big Frog merch store. So support independent media any way you possibly can. We appreciate everything you can. And if you can't, if you have no money, everybody's short right now. Gas is super high. Totally understand. Share the show. Please share the show. Tell people about INN, because we don't spend any money to advertise. We have you. So without you guys telling people about us, we don't grow. And thank you for helping us do that. So speaking of growing, we are about to approach 3,000 subscribers on YouTube. We're at about 2,950 right now. So we're 50 shy. And my Indie Media Today Substack is right on the precipice, if it hasn't already hit 7,500 subscribers. So thank you to everyone for that as well. I mean, it's just wild. Again, we don't pay to advertise. We're completely organic, built from the ground up, and I'm incredibly proud of that. Okay, so now I got a couple of stories about rights being taken away and about persecutions happening using lawfare against activists in multiple countries here. So I'm going to start by going to the UK and to what's going on in London with the Filton trial, the Filton 6. These are Palestine Action protesters, and we'll read about the story. But this attorney, Michael Mansfield, this is Declassified UK Indie Media Award honoree. All right, one of the initial class. They're one of the best outlets there is. Michael Mansfield, their lawyer, extremely concerned by case against Palestine Action lawyer. I'm sorry, Michael Mansfield. We'll find out who he is in a second. Leading lawyers say the proceedings against Rajiv Menon put the right to a fair trial at risk. That's a little concerning. All right, and that is Michael Mansfield. All right, that's one attorney speaking on behalf of another. Contempt of court proceedings against a top human rights barrister are having a chilling effect across the British bar, leading lawyers tell Declassified. Rajiv Menon, KC, is accused of violating the judge's orders in the trial of 6 Palestine Action activists who broke into an Israeli-owned arms facility, that's Elbit, near Bristol in 2024 at the height of the Gaza genocide. Menon is alleged in part to have breached the judge's direction that lawyers were not permitted in their closing speeches to invite the jury to acquit on the basis of conscience. Why? The barrister reportedly told the jury about the Bushel case, a landmark ruling from 1670, which established the independence of juries. So he tried to kind of say it without saying it. He read from a plaque at the Old Bailey, which commemorates the jury in that case, saying it, quote, established the right of juries to give their verdict according to their convictions, unquote. He was literally reading a quote on the courthouse wall. 3 judges on the Court of Appeal are currently considering whether the case against Menon should move ahead after his lawyers put forward a challenge in a hearing last week. They should have challenged it. Reporting restrictions prevented journalists from covering this case for the first few months and have only now begun to be lifted. Why were there restrictions put in place? The proceedings against Menon, who had previously worked on inquiries into Grenfell Tower, Stephen Lawrence, and undercover policing, are believed to be unprecedented in living memory. What a surprise. They're doing unprecedented shit to go after the people that are defending Palestine protesters. I've been at the bar for over 50 years, says Michael Mansfield. Okay, I'm extremely concerned about the issues that are at the center of this initiative, which have never been done before, as far as I'm aware, particularly the chilling effect upon the critical concept of a fiercely independent bar, fearless in its pursuit of justice on behalf of those it represents. Now, what ended up happening is that the lawyer was dismissed by his 6 clients because they didn't know that he wasn't allowed to tell the jury not to vote their conscience and not to acquit them based on conscience, and that was allowed. The defendants themselves were able to say so and said so. In February, a jury acquitted all the activists of aggravated burglary, but failed to reach a verdict on several other charges. The Crown Prosecution Service, remember Keir Starmer came from there, sought a retrial on those charges, while the judge filed a separate complaint against Menon, the lawyer. So for the past 8 weeks, the hearings in Menon's case have been heard at the Royal Courts of Justice in central London as the activist's retrial unfolded 12 miles east at Woolwich Crown Court. Menon's case has been well attended, with overflow rooms required to hold dozens of spectators, including reporters from both mainstream and alternative outlets. Yet none of the British journalists who attended have been able to report on the case after restrictions were put in place to avoid prejudicing the jury in the retrial of the activists. Yet none of the British journalists who attended have been able to report, like we said. That changed late on Tuesday when the jury returned after 14 hours of deliberation with its verdict, finding 4 of the 6 activists guilty of criminal damage. And they're going to be sentenced to decades, years in prison. One of the activists was also found guilty by a majority of 11-1 of inflicting grievous bodily harm on a police officer, but was cleared of the more serious charge of causing grievous bodily harm with intent. So here about the precedent. Now with the allegations against Menon out in the open, lawyers tell Declassified they fear his case is a major escalation against those representing campaign groups. Here we go. They're targeting the lawyers that defend the activists. Barristers must be free to advance their clients' cases without fear that politically contentious arguments will expose them personally to sanction. Seems obvious. Like Mansfield, Heron has known Menon for several years. The two worked together on the undercover policing inquiry. I'm concerned that this case risks establishing a dangerous precedent in which the boundaries of criminal defense are narrowed precisely in cases involving protest and dissent. And remember, this is the UK. They don't exactly have the freedom of speech laws we have here. But if lawyers there begin to self-censor for fear of contempt proceedings, Heron said the right to a fair trial is placed at risk. Courts should protect independent advocacy, not create chilling effect around politically sensitive defenses. This should concern the entire legal profession, Palestine Solidarity Movement, and indeed the whole of the working class movement. Before their arguments in the retrial, 5 of the defendants dismissed their lawyers, as I said, including Menon, and represented themselves. They reportedly said that they felt their lawyers were no longer able to represent them as a result of decisions made by the court. They weren't mad at their lawyer. They were mad that the court restricted their lawyer from telling the jury that they could vote their conscience. Charlotte Head, one of the defendants whom Menon likened to a suffragette in the first trial, told the jury in her closing statement, quote, "It might seem odd that I'm now speaking to you from out here instead of in the dock. Trust me, it's odd for me too. Sadly, despite how unbelievably kind and smart and wise my barristers are, I no longer feel like they are permitted to represent me in a way that does us all justice." The proceedings against Menon and concerns over their impact come as the Labour government has moved to scrap jury trials for offenses that carry a sentence of less than 3 years. The government has said that these changes will clear a massive backlog of cases in the system, while legal professionals say the change could, among other concerns, risk public confidence in the justice system. But I think that fascism is here and they don't necessarily care about the illusion of the justice system anymore. And that's one of the things that I see happening here from Declassified. Outstanding piece and concerning, and something I did not see anybody else talking about, and is incredibly worrisome to all of us as activists and as people who publish anti-capitalist and pro-Palestine material. Next, we have the guys that were on the flotilla, Thiago Avila and Saif Abu Keshik. Okay, so when we last were here on Tuesday, we were awaiting the results of a trial that they were due to have about their detention, and basically the court kicked that detention down the road another 5 days and said that they can hold them until Sunday, which in the United States, by the way, is Mother's Day. And an awful story, but Tiago Avila's mother actually passed away yesterday while he's being held in this prison. Okay, so this is from Left Voice, another Indie Media Award honoree. Part of their network is La Izquierda Diario Estado Español. That's where this comes from initially, right? That's Tiago and Saif. Activists Tiago and Saif have been on a hunger strike for almost a week since the early hours of last Thursday, when they were intercepted by the Israeli Navy alongside 180 other crew members of the Global Samud Flotilla. In Abu Keshek's case, the protest has intensified as he's also begun a thirst strike by refusing to drink water. Both remain in total isolation and are subjected to abuse and psychological torture despite the strictly civilian nature of their mission. In this context, the Beersheba District Court today rejected the appeal filed by the legal team of Adalah against the extension of the detention of the two activists and leaders of the Global Samud Flotilla. The ruling upholds the previous decision of the Magistrates Court to keep them detained until Sunday, May 10th. Adalah maintains that this ruling lacks legal basis and is categorically unjustifiable. Make this a little bigger. Yeah, here we go. As lawyers Hadil Abu Salih and Lubma Tuma argued before the court, the state has not addressed the central issue, which is its lack of legal authority to carry out an arrest in international waters, which is tantamount to kidnapping. No, it is kidnapping. Under these circumstances, any legal detention would require a formal extradition process. Therefore, since there was no legal basis for the initial arrest, each additional day of detention must be considered illegal, as if Israel gives a fuck. The gravity of the case is heightened by the fact that the activists were intercepted on a vessel flying the Italian flag, placing them under Italian jurisdiction. This action clearly violates the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, which stipulates that only the flag state can order the detention or arrest of a vessel, even for investigative purposes. In fact, the Italian government has condemned Israel's actions as illegal. But again, Israel doesn't give a fuck, because fuck Israel. Furthermore, the district court, based on its decision to secret evidence to which the defense has had no access or opportunity to challenge. What? It also failed to adequately address the legal team's argument that the information obtained during interrogations conducted by Shin Bet and the Israeli police, primarily focused on the flotilla, is completely transparent and publicly available online. Because it's not. According to Adalah, this ruling reveals a worrying judicial collusion, allowing unsubstantiated security-related accusations to justify prolonged interrogations and detentions. In this sense, it's a broader strategy, a part of a broader strategy aimed at criminalizing acts of solidarity and humanitarian aid directed toward the Palestinian people in Gaza. Ding, 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 ding. That's their goal. In a press release, GSF denounced the use of baseless charges to criminalize the act of delivering humanitarian aid and opening a humanitarian maritime corridor, despite the fact that even the UN Human Rights Office holds that showing solidarity is not a crime. Abu Keshek and Avila were detained 600 nautical miles from Gaza in international waters. Consequently, their detention constitutes a violation of international maritime law and a case of extrajudicial abduction, as any lawful transfer would have required formal extradition, as we said. The detention of members of the international flotilla fits in a long-standing pattern of state violence, the use of administrative detention, and torture practices, measures that have been employed for decades against the Palestinian population in Gaza and the West Bank, outside the scope of due process, guarantees, and a truly legitimate judicial system. Right. In this context, supposedly legal proceedings, their kangaroo court hearings, reliant on secret evidence and a lack of clear jurisdiction, replicate the very mechanisms that have served to sustain the siege on Gaza and the current situation of systemic violence. This is why we protest. This is why the flotilla existed in the first place. Thanks for validating it. GSF also demands the immediate and unconditional release of Saif Abu Keshik and Tiago Avila, as well as all Palestinian political prisoners. Furthermore, it notes that the escalation from a hunger strike to a dry strike serves as a cry intended to awaken the world. Saif's thirst strike, they state, is a call for the international community to take action to end the manufactured famine and starvation in Gaza, and to hold Israel accountable for its crimes against the Palestinian people. Unquote. We must mobilize to demand the immediate release and safe return of Avila and Abu Keshik, and against the repression of the international movement against the genocide in Palestine. Can't agree more with all of that, possibly. Fuck Israel. So remember, Israel behind the Palestine action thing, because this was protesting Israel's weapons. Israel behind, of course, capturing the flotilla because of their starvation and bombing and massacre and genocide of Gaza and the West Bank. And now we have, finally, Israel again. A common theme. This time, it's Mahmoud Khalil. Now, Mahmoud Khalil penned an article in The Intelligencer back about a week and a half ago. Okay? 1 year after my abduction by ICE, I still watch my back every day. Right? So this is a full article that's grabbed here. I'm not going to read through this because I do have a bunch more stuff I want to get to. But we covered Mahmoud Khalil's case. Okay? And I do think it's important that I at least share some of his words. You know, a young woman at Olive Garden, after serving us, insisted on covering the bill out of her own pocket. I don't know what she earned that shift, but I know the bill was a significant portion of it. There have been baristas at coffee shops around the city, more than I can count, who've looked at me and said, "It's on the house," pressing extra pastries into my hands and refusing payment. I remember the Italian owner and the Lebanese chef down the street who served us a meal, and when the bill came, a slip of paper with $0 written on it and a note, "We support you in a free Palestine." I didn't know they knew. I didn't know they cared. But they did, and they found a way to tell me without turning it into a moment. All right, how do I hold these two truths together? That I walk through the city afraid, and that the city, in small and persistent ways, tells me I'm welcome. That I'm watched and that I'm seen, that I've been made into a symbol against my will, and that some people look at the symbol and recognize a person anyway. Again, a really interesting article, kind of heartbreaking in a way, again, because of what happened to this guy. He ended up in a ICE facility 4 months. He missed the birth of his first child, maybe his only child. We don't know if he's ever going to have another kid. Why? Because he was a negotiator from the protesters that had taken over Hinds Hall. They trusted him enough to negotiate with Jessica Tisch and the NYPD, and he was the go-between. And for that, he was targeted by the Canary Mission. And the Trump administration took that list and decided to go after the people that Canary Mission handed to him. So fuck Israel for that, and fuck Trump for being a puppet. All right. But this is how, protest is being criminalized and right to a fair trial is being eliminated, as we've covered in the, the Prairie Land 16 trial. They're being persecuted for being Antifa or whatever that is. Okay. Right. But the Chinese will put me to my knees. That's right, Macy. It's unreal. We throw a lot of food away. It's not necessary coming out of their check unless they cover the bill like that, but we can still get caught for it. Right. Olive Garden sounds good right now. I'm from New Jersey. I'm not allowed to have Olive Garden. That's just, it's illegal. All right. Support independent media because we need it more than ever. Again, I brought a couple of Indie Media Award honorees there, okay, from Declassified to Left Voice. And it's so important to amplify the voices of the people on the ground, and we do that here. Those people have already supported our network, and we love them for it. And you can join them with Cash App, $, Indie News Network, go-v.com/Indie News Network, over at paypal.me/Indie News Network, at patreon.com/Indie News Network monthly. Yeah, you can also go to Substack and subscribe monthly or annually at IndieMediaToday.com or at INNNewsletter.com. And then at our website, self-hosted, IndieNewsNow.com, which is a news aggregator across all of independent media, all that I've vetted and trusted at least. And then you can also get merch there. You can tip the network through a Keep the Media Free, and you can watch live because we co-stream and self-host there as well. Okay. All right, everyone. Vicky Adams, good to see you. All right. We are going to get to the Audible story that I threw in at the last minute. Again, I am conflicted about this publication and this outlet. They do some really good work. I also have had some major issues with Judd Legume because of his lack of support for Julian Assange and free speech, in my opinion, there, and the trial and his ignoring of that free speech trial, his simping for Democrats and seemingly ignoring Democratic corruption in favor of focusing solely on Republican corruption. And there was another thing, and now I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. And he's one of the largest Substack publications there is. But he has been doing some really good work lately, and I have to give him credit. Gotta give him that credit. Gotta give him credit. That's Chris Russo, Mike and the Mad Dog, for those who don't know. Okay, so these are a series of Instagram posts that I'm guessing have accompanying articles at his publication, popular.info. But I like the way it's presented in tweet-style format here. It's easy to digest, and I can just flip through it. So, this is an important story that I think most people have completely missed. ICE hasn't been paid for detainee medical care, or hasn't paid for detainee medical care for 7 months to any third party. Wait, what? Yeah. ICE has not paid for detainee medical care for 7 months. The termination of payments to providers has coincided with a massive spike in detainee deaths. What a shock. This is a health crisis and a moral crisis. Follow along for details. Last October, the Trump admin stopped paying third parties for medical care for ICE detainees. Why? Because they just decided they felt like it. In November, ICE said the situation was an absolute emergency that needed to be fixed immediately to prevent any further loss of life. According to the ICE Health Service Corps, payments to third parties were supposed to resume on April 30th. ICE is contracted with a private firm, Accentra Health, to process reimbursements. But April 30th came and went, and still nothing is being processed. Meanwhile, back in the Hall of Injustice, detainee deaths at ICE facilities are skyrocketing. From 2018 to 2024, the average number of people who died in ICE custody annually was 8.9. The ICE stopped since ICE stopped medical reimbursements on October 3rd, 2025, people have been dying in an ICE custody at a rate of 51.7 people annually. Now, it hasn't been a full year, but that's now the rate. Multiple people every month. Okay? 33 died last year. beyond the data, because there are people, there are numerous examples of individual cases that suggest essential medical care is being denied to ICE detainees. More details at popular.info. Definitely go check that out. It's depressing, but it's important that we know about this and that we call this out and that we educate other people as to the fact that it's happening so we can stop it from happening further. And the fact that this only has 51 likes and 11 reposts and 2 comments is shameful. Shameful. This is a massive account. Popular Info on Instagram has 20,000 followers, 51 likes. And you can't say that they're suppressing this. I guess you can, because now Zuckerberg is kissing Trump's ass, so he's hiding this kind of stuff. But I don't know. Okay, next. Another investigation by Popular Info published this morning. So like I said, I made an audible because this was hot off the presses. The real cost of the Iran war, $72 billion for the first 60 days. I think that's what the first 2 years of Ukraine cost in comparison. So, Pete Hegseth, our Secretary of Defense, aka War, testified in Congress that the cost of the first 60 days of the Iran war cost $25 billion, which is an exorbitant amount in itself, but also untrue. Internally, the Pentagon says it's $50 billion. Popular Info crunched the numbers, and the real cost is much higher, at least $72 billion. Now, remember, Steve Semler over at Polygraph had it indicated that the first week alone was $19 billion. One reason is that the Pentagon dramatically underestimates the cost of munitions. An SM-2 interceptor, for example, costs $1.2 million. So if the military uses 50, the Pentagon says that costs $60 million. That seems to make sense, but it doesn't work out. The issue is that the Pentagon doesn't make SM-2s anymore. They're replaced with SM-6s, which cost $6.3 million apiece. So when you use 50 SM-2s, the cost of replacing them is not $60 million, it's $315 million. Slight understatement. There have been thousands of munitions used over the course of this massacre, this war, and many will be replaced by more expensive versions. So this error adds up, and I think it was intended. The Pentagon has also been underestimating the damage to U.S. bases and not including the costs of military subsidies to Israel to bomb Iran. To put $72 billion in, you know what? Honestly, I think that's the first time that I've ever seen him talk about subsidizing Israel, because his Democratic benefactors would not like that. To put $72 billion in perspective, that is more than the country spends on federal housing assistance for an entire year. So we could have doubled assistance to help people afford housing, but instead we bombed Iran. Yeah, but doubling housing assistance wasn't going to get them housed either. Unfortunately, because that's a massively corrupt system in itself. While the Pentagon doesn't release details of its estimates, they published a full detailed methodology written again in partnership with Steven Semler from Polygraph over at popular.info. So that's another one that I think you should definitely pay attention to and share, because I guarantee you, anybody who's doing mental gymnastics to justify this or to claim that it's not costing us over $100 billion, which it's going to in time, they're deluding themselves and they're lying to you and everybody else. The third Popular Info story was from a few days ago and also focuses on Trump corruption. What a shock. Okay, this was how Trump turned the presidency into an infomercial. I thought this was a fun story. This is a little TDS, but at the same time, emoluments clause and the rate of corruption is stunningly off the charts here and blatant and right in everybody's face. Trump has used the presidency to promote businesses that he and his family own 110 times in the last 16 months, a Popular Info investigation reveals. Trump has repeatedly promoted Trump-branded golf courses, crypto tokens, and consumer products on social media and at presidential events. The investigation found that since taking office for a second term on January 20th of last year, Trump has promoted his family's business interests 59 times on Truth Social and 30 times while speaking on camera. Trump also has held 21 events at properties he owns. For example, Trump has publicly promoted his meme coin, $Trump, 6 times as president, including 5 posts on Truth Social and 1 event for the top meme coin holders held at his golf course in Virginia. Trump, of course, also uses Truth Social to make official announcements. Truth Social is owned by Trump Media and Technology Group, or TMTG, and Trump is the largest shareholder, owning 53% of the company. Trump has posted 8,452 times on Truth Social since his inauguration on January 20th, 2025. Abby, it wasn't Lutnick that took the tariff money. It was Lutnick's kids that signed up to purchase some debt that was repaid based upon the tariffs. But yes, Lutnick set it up. Knew it was going to happen. Pushed for the tariffs, then had his kids buy the tariff refunds. Trump also frequently promotes Trump-owned properties at official events. Every time he mentions Mar-a-Lago. Last month, during a White House press event conference with the Irish head of government, Michael Martin, Trump spoke extensively about the quality of the golf course he owns in Ireland. Nauseating. Trump also has continued to promote his branded consumer products as president. For example, using Truth Social to promote a line of Trump-branded fragrances, Victory 4547. 1 bottle of cologne or perfume costs $249. There's also the Trump coin and the golden Trump shoes. During his second term, Trump has repeatedly held official events at properties he owns. Again, they stopped him. They tried to stop him from doing that during his first term. They're not even bothering anymore. Last month, meaning in March, Trump launched the Shield of the Americas, a new organization of Western Hemisphere countries. The event was held at Trump's resort and golf course in Miami, Trump National Doral. Every other president since the Civil War has divested from business interests that would conflict with official duties. Trump has done the opposite. That's what the ethics lawyer in the W administration said. Okay, so he's corrupt. He's using the office to enrich himself, his kids, and his benefactors nakedly, blatantly, and nobody's stopping it. 3 good investigations that I don't see enough people talking about, sadly, honestly. It's like saying that Barron didn't invest at 18 into things that he doesn't understand. It's the same shit. That's right. 100%. And he also, I'm guessing, speculating, is involved with these poly market bets. They can't prove it, but if he's got a VPN, he can make poly market bets based upon what he knows is going to happen and profit wildly for him, his investors, his father, whoever it is that he chooses. Right? So, Judd is, Popular Info is independent and funded by users. He's a purple check on Substack, which is one of the best, I think, 10,000 paid subscribers. We don't have 10,000 paid subs. So if you can help us out, really appreciate that. Okay. Those are the people who've already done so. Support independent media because we need it more than ever. Okay, so what's the takeaway supposed to be, Derek Sawyer? Is that know that there's corruption happening. Talk to the people who are trying to gaslight you into saying that it's not happening, and continue to push and for leaders that aren't corrupt and hold them accountable. And if you can't find any, then none of the above is the answer. It's not vote Democrat, because Democrats are also just as corrupt. Okay, all this will maybe become actionable if he doesn't suspend the midterms, which he may not, he likely won't, and impeachment is within reach. Sadly, we're going to be left with J.D. Vance. That's their plan. So if it's not actionable currently, we'd get settled with an organized form of the same evil. Again, that's their plan. And we may not be able to do anything about that because they own all the gates, they own all the keys, they have all the money. What we can do is fight against it, hunker down with our families, educate everyone in our communities around it, and do our best to opt out of their system, to barter with our neighbors, to have direct relationships with people so that we can't be split. And fund independent outlets like this one. Cash App, $ Indie News Network, ko-fi.com/Indie News Network, paypal.me/Indie News Network as friends and family, patreon.com/Indie News Network for a monthly, over at IndieMediaToday.com, over on Substack, where Derek Sawyer is now. Thank you so much for sharing and for commenting, Derek, and chatting. At INN Newsletter, where I also publish stuff every week. That's where we publish a weekly update for everything that's happening in the network, as well as 5 other podcasts that are hosted there. Democrats suck. They're not even close. I lived through the Biden administration, sir. You can't tell me that. Fascists versus technocratic managers, not exactly the same. They are exactly the same. They are doing the exact same playbook that they were running in Ukraine, and now they are running it. First, they ran it in Gaza, but they used a proxy war. And they're still fighting it, and that was meant to replace Afghanistan. They are no different. It is a uniparty. They are two sides of the same coin. It's the Washington Generals paid to lose to the Harlem Globetrotters and then go, oh, shucks, we put up a good fight. That's what's going on here. Two sides of the same coin. They play off each other. The Democrats are no better than the Republicans. We saw the Democrats have power for 4 years and do nothing with it. And then what did they do? They smeared the left for fighting against and saying, oh, yeah, there's neo-Nazis in Ukraine. And, oh, yeah, this is a proxy war fighting Russia. No, it's not. No, it's not. We blew up Nord Stream. No, we didn't. No, we didn't. Oh, yeah, we did all those things. We were right about every fucking one of them. Don't tell me Democrats don't suck. Democrats suck ass. Fuck Democrats. And worse, Democrats claim to represent us. Republicans don't even front. So fuck Democrats for that too. They don't represent the people. They represent the donor class while telling you they represent you. Gaslighting motherfuckers. All right. I got to get to a lightning round. We're going to do the GoFundMe's and we'll cut out of here for the night. But thank you. Again, I'm not yelling at you. I'm yelling at Democrats. I'm yelling at the fact that Democrats have brainwashed people into believing that they're any better than these scumbags. They're not. They're all paid, and they're all on the take. And they're all taking AIPAC money, by the way. How are they any different if they're all getting paid to look the other way on Israel? Sorry. Okay. All right. So I've got a few stories here that I'm not going to read through the whole thing, but I did want to show you, and I'll link them so you guys can go and check it out. We talked a lot on How Did We Miss That, which is the show that preceded this one when I went solo in November. How Did We Miss That? We talked a lot about Cop City and Stop Cop City. And we weren't able to stop Cop City from being built in Atlanta. And a lot of those protesters in the Wiley Forest were prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law and persecuted. Well, guess what? They're not done yet. Latest Cop City indictment drags former RICO defendants into a new legal battle by Indie Media Award honoree Unicorn Riot. Okay? This is Attorney General Chris Carr has charged 3 people for a protest that took place nearly 4 years ago during the movement to stop Cop City in Atlanta, according to a new grand jury indictment announced on April 23rd, which accuses the activists of property destruction and arson. New charges 4 years late. Fuck those people. Insane. Fraudulent misrepresentation. Absolutely insane. How is that? I mean, all right. So I don't want to read this whole article. I definitely want to link you to it. And I love Unicorn Riot. They're good peeps. Go support them. Next one. I've got Erin Brockovich. I love Erin Brockovich. How could you not? I mean, this woman has been fighting for the people for 30 years plus. We first heard about her. They made a movie about her. She's an activist who worked for a lawyer. She was a beauty queen who was working for a lawyer. Somebody brought her a case about people getting sick of cancer from PG&E in California. And she worked with those families to get a massive payout, the largest payout in the history of the state of California. And they made a movie about her, and Julia Roberts played her. But she never stopped, and she got a big check, and she became a real advocate and a philanthropist. And she started a Substack years ago, and I was one of the first people, because I followed the movie and I was a fan of hers, to follow her. And I'm like, how is like everybody not already doing that? Well, she wrote this article this week, and I wanted to bring it because there are still, that was Hinckley, California, by the way. That was the town that was poisoned by PG&E. But she's still fighting. And she wrote this very brief article along with her co-author, Suzanne Boothby, who launched this Substack with her and gets no credit whatsoever. Everybody talks about the Brockovich report, Erin. I think Suzanne probably does the heavy lifting here on this Substack, while Erin has the ideas. They work together to get this published. I give Suzanne a lot of credit. Erin just says, I can't sugarcoat it. It sucks when you've been working on a cause, trying to stop something terrible in your community, and it doesn't go your way. So this is talking specifically about setbacks as an activist and how do we persevere and continue on. And she's resilient as fuck, and I love her for it. We do our best here to offer support, tips, and resources. We give a voice to thousands of communities across the community who feel the country, who feel silenced and feel like there's no one listening to them. In 2023, her publication featured a group of Colorado residents who are working to protect their families, homes, schools, neighborhoods, air, water, and community reservoir from the risks of fracking. And I'm going to skip to the bottom because they did lose this case. And they're going to build it. So the main activist sent Erin an email, and her email to us was short. She called it a devastating update. She wasn't sure of next steps, but she wanted to say thank you, and Erin had been thinking about that ever since. Kermit the Frog once lamented that it's not easy being green, and I'll add that it's not easy being an advocate either. And this is why I brought this. The people I know, like the people in this chat, who are fighting for their communities, are not doing it from positions of comfort and abundance. They're doing it in the margins, in the hours between work and dinner, or between school pickup and bedtime. They're doing it with bake sales and Facebook pages and borrowed expertise. They're doing it because nobody else will. STAR, Save the Aurora Reservoir, organized nearly 2,500 active citizens. They raised more than $100,000. They hired legal representation. They brought in nationally recognized experts. They showed up en masse to every opportunity that the process afforded them, and they still lost. There's a particular kind of grief in that loss. It's not the grief of having failed. They didn't fail. It's the grief of having succeeded at everything within your control and discovering that the system itself was designed to produce a different outcome. As STAR put it in their statement, if a community is able to step up, learn about oil and gas in Colorado, figure out all the agencies involved, and still have no ability to protect their families, then the system is badly broken. That's not defeat talking, that's clarity. So why keep going? And this is why I brought this, because all of us get super discouraged and get down. And it's hard fucking work because we are up against a behemoth that is the best funded machine in the history of the planet. Because even the commissioners who voted yes are watching. Because the commissioner, John Messner, who voted against the permit, said plainly that I think this will create change. The amount of public interest, the amount of participation is the same that ultimately created Senate Bill 19-181. That bill, which is that landmark 2019 legislation that reoriented Colorado's oil and gas regulation around public health, didn't come from nowhere. It came from communities like this one, from losses like this one, from people who refuse to let a setback be the last word. It's a loss. It's a battle in a much larger war. And we can't go home and take our stuff and leave. The record exists now, and that's not for nothing. More than 3 years of testimony, expert analysis, documented community harm will become the foundation for the next fight that it's built on. I think now about all those people in Aurora who know each other. They know how to organize. They know the regulatory process. They know their opponents' arguments and how to counter them. Their knowledge doesn't expire. Community power once built doesn't simply dissolve because a commission voted the wrong way. Yes and no. Okay? And this is where I will differ slightly from my friend Aaron. Is that I saw a movement dissolve. When the movement was built around freeing somebody from prison when that person was freed, that movement somewhat sadly dissolved. A lot of people went home and went back to their lives because they felt like they accomplished the goal. The goal didn't really end. We won a victory, a battle. Movements are not sustained by victories alone. They're sustained by the culture of people who keep faith with one another through the losses, who don't disappear when the news is bad, and who hold the thread so the next person knows where to pick it up. And I felt like that happened in the Assange movement. We were always ready for bad news and ready to rally after hearing bad news and expecting the worst, hoping for the best. The fracking will likely move forward near the Aurora Reservoir. That is a real harm, and it deserves to be named as such. The families who live nearby will bear a risk they didn't choose and couldn't prevent, even with extraordinary effort. We should be totally honest about that injustice and not rush past it toward a tidy silver lining. But Starr said it themselves, the people of our state are not done. If this story lit something in you, don't let that feeling sit idle. Find the issue in your own backyard, the zoning meeting nobody's attending, the permit application filed quietly on a Friday afternoon, or the neighborhood group that needs one more person to show up. Democracy, small d, is not a spectator sport. And the corporate interests making decisions that impact your life are counting on your exhaustion. Disappoint them. Big fan. And I commented below, and I'm guessing my comment will be down there somewhere. Dealing with the losses, picking ourselves back up, and organizing together for a bigger fight is absolutely the right move. I hope they keep fighting together. This article is really important for activists to read. To keep going, even in the face of losses, because we get bigger wins down the road, even though we do sustain a loss right now. So that's number 2. And I guess I read more of that article than I thought I would, but that's okay. Erin's awesome. She's an Indie Media Award honoree. 2023. All right. Another short article, but I'm not going to read through it all. Other Words is another independent publication. Private equity taking over nursing homes, and seniors are paying the price. When corporations take over public health care, quality decreases, patients suffer, Medicaid cuts could and likely will lead to the same result. All right. So I'm going to link this one in the description. And then I got 2 more I want to share. This one, ProPublica, an outstanding outlet. They are Pulitzer Prize winning. They rebranded and launched a new version of their logo, typefaces, homepage, everything. And then they explained why. All right. And it looks like this in light. There's also a dark mode. Right. The homepage allows investigations to be packaged with supporting material, such as the methodology or translations, better showcasing their visual journalism because they're doing more video. It was specifically pretty much articles, and now they're doing a lot more video. So shout out to ProPublica, who does outstanding investigations. They did some stuff about Clarence Thomas. They've done some stuff about the people who scam on We Buy Ugly Houses. They have a lot of investigations that you should definitely check out. I also read this article yesterday myself, and I'm not going to read through it, but the Corbett Report, another Indie Media Award honoree from 2023, and one of the best out there, wrote this article about what the fuck happened in 1971. And he uses a story of looking at a certain set of charts about inflation, showing that starting in 1971, a dramatic and drastic change started happening. Currency crashes started happening more frequently. Worker pay started diverting from productivity. Per capita and median male income were also diverging, where you've got income gains widely shared in the past in post-war decades, but not since what year? 1971. Mean age of parents at birth started increasing after 1971. It became more expensive to have kids. All right. What happened in 1971? So do you want the primer or, the peak year of everything? And then he'll give you the corporate media spin. And then he tells you what really it is. And a lot of it is the removal of the gold standard. But there's a lot more to this. This is a long article that I want everybody to go and take a look at. I think it's really important over at thecorbettreport.com, but you can also check it out over on the Corbett Report on Substack. And James Corbett, Indie Media Award honoree for outstanding podcasting live streaming, although he doesn't live stream and he hates being called a podcaster. Finally, we got Indie News Now. I've talked about it all night. This is our independent news aggregator website. Bookmark it. Go to IndieNewsNow.com and bookmark it. It will change and refresh as new articles are published 24/7. Sana Saeed, her articles link here. This link directly to the websites. We're not trying to take their traffic away. We're looking to amplify them and to introduce people to them so that they frequently come back and will read their articles and give them more credibility. Black Agenda Report, AntiWar, Dave DeCamp's Substack, Israel-Palestine News, A Skeptic on Substack, The Dissident, Dissent in Bloom, all of course, the INN stuff. So this morning, The Honest Broker, Ted Joya. I brought a few of his articles. There's JB Font, his Substack's up there, and his pulling in there. Okay, so again, just a regular flow of anti-war, anti-capitalist, independent news, completely ad-free, 24/7. Again, we also have our merch store over here, so you can pick up some merch, t-shirt from either the Shanda Masta Fuck Cancer collection or from any of the other t-shirts or hoodies or tank tops coming to summertime. INN tank top would look real good right now, $19 for the white one. All right, that's our lightning round. I know that was a little longer than I wanted it to be, but that's good. We still got 10 minutes to midnight. We're doing all right. So thank you, everybody. Support independent media because we need it more than ever. The ways to do that are up there. Cash App, Ko-fi, PayPal, and Patreon over at the two Substacks or at the site I just showed you, IndieNewsNow.com, where there is a section to keep the news free. All right. Seven Sign, what was your question here? If you pay women 60 cents to a man's dollar, who will you hire? That's a great question. Everyone. I mean, we should hire everyone, but that's a whole other story. Oh, thank you, Natalie. Really appreciate you. All right. Oh, your Cash App's coming. Yep. Cool. Oh, there it is. Payment received. Really. Oh, that's the best. You're the best. All right. Finally, we've got our GoFundMes. We do this every week. We do this every show. We feel like it's important. I feel like it's important to do with the platform that I have to recognize the people in the audience and causes that are important to us. So the first one is Natalia. Natalia, we talked about ICE earlier, or we talked about ICE on Tuesday night detaining a 10-year-old child and looking to deport them to Ecuador. ICE is also looking to deport Natalia to Ukraine, where she was originally from, came here seeking asylum and was granted asylum, fearing for her life. Now, because of a routine traffic stop, she was detained, and she's been in ICE detention since the summertime last year. And pending appeal, they are looking to deport her. We're hoping to get her some money to keep going. So that's what this GoFundMe was for initially. Her daughter is, I think, now graduating high school, I think, is where we're up to now. He's that far out. And we don't have a time frame on what the next step is or when her next appeal hearing is. We thought it was going to be a couple of weeks ago. She spoke to Anthony late or in early April or in late March and said that the treatment was poor there, that she was not getting any sunlight, the food was substandard, that nobody spoke her language, there were no translators, and that she was not comfortable saying all of the things that she was seeing on a monitored line. So we can only imagine how bad it is in these ICE facilities. Remember also that we reported tonight that ICE has not paid any third-party doctors since October. So we know that substandard care is happening, and people who need medical attention are also not getting it. So fuck ICE for all of that. All right. Next, we have justice for Aspen. We've been talking about Aspen's story for about a year now. Aspen went to a music festival in Florida last May in a friend's RV, a friend of a friend's RV. She didn't really know this person. And the RV was pulled over in Georgia on the way home from the festival. And the cops searched the vehicle and found mass quantities of drugs and charged everyone, Aspen included in the vehicle, with trafficking. Even though she didn't know about the drugs, didn't know they were there, and didn't know that the person who was driving them had them and was selling them. Driver told the cops this. They didn't believe it. They had Aspen in prison for more than 2 weeks in the Georgia County lockup. Halo drove from Oklahoma, where they live, Halo's her mom, and was literally sleeping in her car in the parking lot at the county jail until she got her daughter out. She is out right now pending a trial. We are looking to raise as much money as possible to fund her defense, to fund experts, and to fund their living expenses in the meantime while they are going through this horrible trial and tragedy. She's literally facing decades in prison, and for a crime she never committed. Her crime was being in the wrong place at the wrong time and in the wrong RV and trusting the wrong people. It's terrible. I did an interview with Aspen and her mother, Halo, back in October. Descent in Bloom wrote a beautiful article detailing Aspen's story. Then we did a live stream fundraiser at the end of October last year, and we got her over the $12,500 first threshold. And it's kind of stalled out since then. But the bills keep piling up. We still need to fund. We got through the first round of funding her lawyer so that they could have discovery. But now they need experts in autism and talking about autism in prisons and the effect of prison on vegetarians and all these different things that would be reasons to dismiss the charges. So we need money for that. The way to support her is to go to linktr.ee, linktree, /justice4 Aspen. And you can either donate to her GoFundMe or you can pick up some of her artwork. Those are the two best ways to do that. And again, if this were my kid, I would do whatever it took to make sure that they were They had a proper defense. And I can't even imagine if it were my kid, how I would feel. And I would want there to be a support network of people to step up and help us and be our advocates, as we should be for Aspen and others. That's one of the reasons why I do this. It's because I'm hoping that at some point it's going to happen to us. It happens to all of us at some point. And when it does, I'm hoping that I've paid it forward enough that we're going to have a community of people that rallies around us. Because again, you never know when it's going to rain. I love you all for that. Thank you. Okay, so finally, and there is again that GoFundMe, which you can link to. And again, they've raised over $12,000 already. But they haven't gotten a donation in a while, $12,600. It's been a few months. So if you're able to, and it means, please support that. And then finally, we've got the Shanda Masta Fuck Cancer fundraiser. We lost Shanda more than 30 days ago. I can't believe it's been more than 30 days. Small cell lung cancer. She was such a fighter. And she beat it a couple times. And we thought she was clear. And then it came back. It kept attacking her salt. She lost her fight last month. But the fight continues. The bills never stopped. And we've decided to honor her by creating a merch collection where we will donate the proceeds and donate the profits toward her expenses and final expenses. And after we've covered that, we will then give it to some cancer research foundation. So that is the Shanda Masta Fuck Cancer collection at the Indie News merch shop, which you can get to by going to IndieNewsNow.com, clicking on the merch link, or I just dropped the link to the merch collection in the chat for all people that are on the live stream. If you're watching afterwards, go to the Substack for this episode or any of the Substack published posts for the GoFundMes. There are more than 50 of them. So there are definitely ways to support. And again, those expenses haven't stopped and the GoFundMe is still open. So thank you to everyone who's able to go over and support there too. Reminder that Shanda Masta herself was an Indie Media Award honoree for excellence in live streaming and podcasting. We miss her dearly. Rest in power. We love you, Shanda. There's our sunflowers out in chat for Shanda. All right. How's Al? I honestly, Natalie, I'm sorry. I don't know. I know Al's got a whole bunch of issues of his own, but I can't imagine how Al is coping as well. But we all kind of were prepared for this, as rough as it is. Awful. Yep. Shanda, our cause is always there, and we're always going to be there as well. We're going to try to. We're going to do the best we can. I love you all. Thank you. Okay, everyone. Again, I'm not going to be here Tuesday night. I have a business trip I'm going to go on, but we are going to have a live stream with chat, and that's going to be me reading the Whitney Webb article about New Albany and Les Wexner and Jeffrey Epstein's takeover of this town and the model they've been trying to implement in other towns. The clips from this show will go out starting next Wednesday or Thursday, and I'll kind of hold this one out and spread that out throughout next week. And in the meantime, I love you all. Support independent media because we need it more than ever. And I'll see you a week from this Tuesday. Later on, fam. I love you all. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. No! We just fucking lost the stream!
I think I liked it better being blind, when I couldn't read between the lines, and when I couldn't see the cracks in the structure that lay bare before me the whole time. I think I liked it better back when I suspended disbelief and swallowed pride. I thought I knew the difference in the red from the blue, but they both bleed us so dry.
They both bleed us so dry. My favorite songs don't hit the same way. I get to the end of a 4-minute track and I'm only looking back thinking, what did they actually say? So
I guess this isn't such an awful place. Is that what you want me to say? You prove it's possible to sleep for days, and I still think you're right here awake. The cost of living isn't much to make, but God, it's so hard to say. And when they told you everything was safe, were you safe? Were you safe? You can't keep giving us nothing and think we're bluffing about coming for your heads. Why play civil if you won't listen to 50,000 dead? Now we know our mission, we form a militia, make Congress a prison. Why play civil when all these dead won't make you listen?
what's more American than slaying your oppressors? What's more American than liberty or death first? Man, I thought we were founded on abolishing the tyranny of those who would starve a village all to live empirically. And I regret that I have only one life to give for my cause, now that I can see the cause so clearly. I want our leaders, regardless of party, to fear me. I will pick my targets and assassinate them lyrically. I will bring them out into the town square, hook them to the pillory and leave them there. Hillary, I'll see you there. Hillary, I'll see you there.
You can't keep giving us nothing and think we're bluffing about coming for your heads. Why play civil if you won't listen to 50,000 dead? Now we know our mission, we form a militia, make Congress a prison. Why
play civil when all these dead won't make you listen. Welcome to the fantasy of rhetoric. Welcome to the last of the free speech while we can get it. And I promise you can get it. All you corporate Democrats, second wave Confederates, GOP illusionists, and neo-Nazi bureaucrats. And Stephen fucking Miller, I will see you in the aftermath. When all the laws are dust, there's just moral justice after that. And I will hunt you through the wasteland if it comes to that. So I can rub you in the dirt like a cheap human Brillo pad. I can sleep fine when our beds are burning, Stephen, but I'll turn around and run into the blaze to get my pillow back. As long as I can lay my head down, I can live with that. I can deal with a little ash. I can feel like a little of the old me burn with the bad and the rest of my past. The old world where we all lived and we can't get back. The old world where you didn't give and you'd still get back. Where you could rake in 12 billion and give none back.